demons rise. Mindflayers chant, demons rise. Mindflayers chant, demons rise.
Hello and well met. This is Layman with the Fantasy Grounds Academy. Today I'm checking out some more NPC building. This is a custom NPC called the Ogrelon. It's essentially like a mixture between a beast, an ogre, and like a demon. I just kind of randomly created this image through generative AI tool. I think it was maybe Midjourney. I don't know which one it was, but anyways, I took the image and made a stat block for it. And then it just turned into this whole thing where I'm building this NPC with all this background and music and the whole 9 yards. So what I'm doing now is just kind of checking out the song. So check this out. This is the soundtrack kind of thing for the Ogrelon that I made with the generative AI tool called Suno.
In the depths where shadows creep, a dark pit where secrets seep. Mindflayers chant, demons rise. Ogrelon strength with beastly eyes. They forged a terror from their pain, infused with dark abyssal strain. A monster born of twisted lore. The Ogrelon, a force of war. Abyssal fury, dark and wild. From the pit where darkness smiled, unleashed upon the world so cold. The Ogrelon, fierce and bold. In cursed lands they roam and hunt, preying on the weak, a savage front. Terrifying roars, frenzy in their eyes. Villages fall, no chance to rise. In pairs or trios they dominate, a force of chaos sealed by fate. More than free, they clash and fight. A brutal dance in endless night. Abyssal fury, dark and wild. From the pit where darkness smiled, unleashed upon the world so cold. The Ogrelon, fierce and bold. You to fear they stalk the night with claws and teeth, a dreadful sight. Mindflayer minds and demon spell, a creation born from pits of hell. Abyssal fury, dark and wild. From the pit where darkness smiled, unleashed upon the world so cold. The Ogrelon, fierce and bold.
Anyhow, you get the idea. So anyways, I was working on the NPC, and I basically have like the POG token here that I made with Canva. So that is a tool that I use quite a bit for making social media posts and that kind of thing. So that entails just kind of blocking out the content that you want to make. So I made an ogre on the other show, and basically I took the image from Canva and worked it out through here. So this is how I make the larger ones, because that token stamp program, it only works for 256 by 256 dimensions, and that's a little bit too small for a large creature. So anytime I need a large creature, I'm just going to use this template here, and then I just cut out this white part in the background just in case, and then that way I have a template sort of to work with. So that makes it a little bit easier and consistent. So then I took the image, exported it, and made it into an asset that I can use to edit for the 3D token. And I just set the height and the width. I think I forgot to set this parameter here, so I'm going to have to redo it. So I'm going to take and I'll explain this process. But here's the XML file. Just delete it. You don't have to. It'll write over it, but I'm just going to be safe and drag that over. And then I want to take the image that I was going to use. So this is an image that has the background already cut out. So go ahead and close this. And then what you do is you click on set measurement region. And I'm going to click over here on the left. And now we're going to do the height. So I'm going to come down here about around his toe area. And then the expected grid height is going to be 2. So it's a large creature. For the actual height, though, he's like, I don't know, 13.3 or something like that. And width, he's pretty wide, so probably about 4 feet. So we'll do that. Normally, I just leave that. Actually, I won't even put the width in there because it'll scale with the height. And then to set the center floor is the very center of this. So usually divide it between the two and come up in between these 2 feet. So maybe like right about here. And then click. And then click Save XML. Now what I want to do in Fantasy Grounds, though, is go to Images and then go to my campaign folder. And I want to refresh those. So whenever you make changes, delete things, move things around, you definitely want to refresh. So now that we have the 2D images, there we go. So that's going to look pretty cool. So what I want to do with this, if you want it to be an image that you can share in your campaign and such, it's a little easier if you do add it ahead of time. So we have some NPC art here already, but I'm going to go ahead and add this 2D asset just so we have an image of it. So you can drag and drop this, or you can create all at once. So I'm just going to drag and drop that over to the images. So if I go to the images area, take this, drag and drop it. Now we have an image that we can also, we can take this and share it with players, or, we could do whatever we want with it. A little dark, but I kind of like it. So that's the, this type of view. And then you can do the token view. See, right now it's not set up properly because it's flat. It's not supposed to be like that. But anyway, so this is just that's for a map. That's why I did that. So this is just an asset that I'm going to use for the NPC. So I'm going to actually import the NPC stat block. So we can do that in 5e by using the import tool. And I've done a bunch of videos on this, like how to do this and make sure the stat block's the correct format and all this other stuff. So I'll go ahead and show you the text that I'm working with. So this is the song that I was working on. But when I go further up, there's a stat block that has all of the information for this. It even has the lore. So I'm actually going to copy the lore first. So that will be this part of it. And this will go on the right-hand side of the NPC character import tool in Fantasy Grounds. So if I go back to Fantasy Grounds, on the right-hand side, this is going to be where the actual lore text is going to be. And then I'm going to go ahead and put his name in there. Let's see. So this is going to be the Ogrelon or Ogrelon, whatever you want to call it. Ogrelon. It's a kind of like a beast, ogre, demon type thing mixed together. And it was just an accident. So I didn't have any plans on doing this. I just thought it was a cool concept, and I wanted to share the process of inputting these into Fantasy Grounds for you guys. Just for funsies, not anything real serious or anything. This is just something I do occasionally. I want to show you my process and give you guys some insight on how this stuff can work. Not always helpful, but in some cases, like if you use a 5e rule set, it'll definitely be helpful for you. So this is just the background information, and then I'm going to take the actual NPC data here. This is the actions and you know, the different traits that it has. So it's a large monstrosity. It's evil, chaotic evil. It's pretty gnarly. It's not something I would take lightly. I think it's a CR7 creature, so it's pretty tough. So let me take a look at the stat block and make sure it looks right. So large monstrosity, yes, I got to put his name up here. So this is the Ogrelon. We don't need that. So, and then I'm just going to right click and clean up the spaces. It looks right, like all the stats are straight across with the corresponding numbers. And then looking at the actions and the traits, rampage, multi-attack, bite, great claw, frenzy. And then the actions is a terrifying roar. I don't think that's quite, I think actions needs to go, let me go up here, just to the multi-attack area, and hit Control V there, and then get rid of this word actions down here, because that's essentially the traits up here. So terrifying roar will be one of its actions, but then the rampage is just basically like notes or something that do with him and his trait. So we'll just put that there. And it looks like it looks pretty good. We'll see if it actually imports properly. Yeah, so, wow, it's got 127 hit points. Pretty nasty. Ogrelon. Looks like these parsed correctly. Yeah. And then here's the traits, and then on this side are all the notes and the nice summary here. So I'm going to take and put the image that I imported for the campaign images and actually drag and drop that here into the into this area here, so I have a preview image for, you know, if when you're selecting monsters and stuff, it's nice to have a picture of it. So I'll just do that and then kind of tidy up the text a little bit. Maybe bold this out. This is kind of the old way they used to do it. They used to take and put these images in here so you'd have a preview, and then you'd have all the lore and such on the back. So now I'm going to actually edit the main tab with the images. So we have our asset image now for the Ogrelon. So I'm going to click this, and we're going to use this for the full body image and for the camera token. And then for the token or the flat tokens, we're going to use this. So that's what it's basically how that works when you build your custom content. You got to provide a couple pieces of art. So I'm going to go ahead and lock it and test it. So normally what I'll do is anytime I make these things, I'll test it. I'll put it on a combat tracker to see if it's parsing correctly. And then I'll take a look at the offense. And here's all of its different. So here's a frenzy. Here's the great claw attack. Here's the bite attack. And then the notes for rampage and multi-attack. And then the terrifying roar will frighten you if you get, you know, if he's within probably should be a range on it. I think this 15 wisdom saving throw works though. Probably anything that if you can see it basically and hear it, we'll see. I think the next step is going to be just to put it on a map, because that's important to see what it's going to look like. And then also test it in Combat Tracker. All right, let's take a look. All right, so I'm going to take the just take the maps that come with Fantasy Grounds. I don't really need anything spectacular. So if you go to modules, if you're a Fantasy Grounds user and you're kind of new, you can actually go to the activation area and type in battle map, and there's a module that comes with Fantasy Grounds, or it might just be map pack or something like that. It's battle maps that come with Fantasy Grounds. They're not anything special, but they're enough to get you through to. It's right here, FG battle maps. And this has been around since Classic. So if they look kind of outdated, that's because they've been around for a while. I hope they update that someday. I mean, they could keep this, but if they want to have something that's more, up to date, I think they would come up with a new set of these, kind of make things look interesting. And let's do the water-filled chasm. Let's do that one. So this is the map that I'm just going to use just for testing purposes. It doesn't have to look good necessarily, but I do, hopefully it has a little bit of line of sight on it. We'll see. Does it have any on here? It doesn't matter really. For testing, it doesn't matter that much. Yeah, it does. So if you click on the layer and then you click on line of sight, yeah, someone's already done it. You see a map like this, and it's got like 50 gazillion dots. This isn't too bad, but there are some out there that are older that probably haven't been updated in a while. If you see that and you're having performance issues like with caverns, you can actually double click on any one of these points and click on Simplify Selected Occluders. And that gets rid of some of those dots that are unnecessary. So like double click on this, that'll select all the dots, and then you just click on Simplify Occluders, and it will kind of tidy that up a little. You don't want to do it too much because it'll take away some of your shapes and stuff. But if you do it once per section, it will definitely help with performance. So if you've got like something like Dungeon of the Mad Maid or some huge cave complex, this little trick here will help you with that. So that's something that they built into the tool once they realized that some of their performance hits was coming from the amount of data points on the map. So that's a continuous issue that newer people will have until they understand some of the limitations and the suggestions. So I did the same thing here. So that just cleaned up probably about 20% of them. That's pretty nice. So that's a nice feature, and that's good to know. All right, so what I'm going to do is put the party members on the map. I'm going to turn the grid on just so you can kind of have a little bit of reference here. So turn that on. I'm going to change it to like a kind of a yellowish color so you can see a little bit better. Let me see if that's, yeah, there we go. And then we'll use that for the grid just so you can see that. Now I'm going to put the Ogrelon on the map. So that's in these areas here. So we'll just say that it's over here across this moat here. And I'm going to drag and drop it there. And what I want to look for is its size is large. So it should take up 4 squares on a map if it's large. So I'm going to drag and drop the token onto the map. And yes, it's basically 4 squares. And that's where you would also locate it. When you want to interact with anything on the top layer, you got to be in play mode. And if you want to make it a little bigger, you can hold down the control key and click on the token and scroll up or down. So if you need it to be a little bigger, you can do that temporarily. And then I'm going to take my party here. And if you had this set up before you even start your combat, if you're going to do that or anything like that, you should always probably put them, or try to remember to put them on the party sheet, because you got more tools available to you there. And then you can just drag your players onto here. For testing, you may not have to do this, but I want to test a few other things out. So that's kind of why I do that. And then for the order, you can actually set up a default kind of setup where everyone's going to be lined up for the first time when you put them on a map. So I'm going to put Amanda Frostbeard in the back. I'm going to put old Dorig Rockfist up here on the side. And we're going to put Haglin Headbutt Rockfist, his uncle, up front. And then we're going to put this Battle Rager over here on the right. So this is facing north, this formation. So now when I put them on this map, they should be facing this direction. So if I take this little green token-like thing here and drop it right here in the center, it should kind of line up. Yeah, it looks like Amanda got cut off because of the wall, so I'll just hold shift and move her token over here. I just didn't want her up front, so I'll put her back here. Put Uncle Haglin there. So this is our party, essentially. So, but you could use this to kind of give you a starting point for your crew. So technically, I could arrange these kind of diagonally. It would have worked out better, but you don't always know the formation that you're going to need. This is just like a starting formation. I can actually put her up here and put Haglin like right here, put Dorig here, and the Battle Rager right there. I could have done something like this. So let me see if that works. So I'm going to take this, delete all the tokens. Let's try that, see if that works better. Yeah, so that would have worked out better if I would have did that formation ahead of time, but that's all right. No big deal. So Uncle Haglin there and some dwarves. So they're in like exploring these dwarven mines that have been abandoned. They're probably wondering why they were abandoned. And now the Ogrelon thing, or Ogrelon, if I put him on there, he's visible right now. So you can make them invisible. That's their default status when you first add them. So I'll put him right there. And that would be the starting location. And when the encounter started, I can make him visible. And then we would look at that. And then this area here, I can make this look more like water. So if you wanted to make this fancier, I can actually add a effects layer. And then maybe I'll add 2 effects layers. One's going to be for color, and then one's going to be for the water effect. So I think I want to work on the colored area first. So I want to take and click on the effect layer, click on effects, use the drop down, and this will be just the water layer. And you can see it does the whole map. Well, you don't want it to do that necessarily. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a mask on this thing and then hold the Alt key and then just kind of trace around the perimeter. Oops, I got to make sure. Let me turn that off. Okay, go to mask. It's not working. Oh, that's because I don't have anything selected. I don't have the correct thing selected. I actually added another layer, which isn't what I wanted. Okay, let's edit this layer. Put the mask on, hold down the Alt key, and then just kind of trace around this area where you want the water to appear. Because if you don't put that mask on there, the whole map will look that way. So there's your water. And now the next one, I wanted to kind of add kind of like a water effect, kind of like a bluish green color. So I'll play around with the colors. So here I'm going to click on this other layer, drop down, and then go to adjust colors. Whoops, not time of day. Adjust color. Actually, that looks kind of cool though. But I'm going to go to color. That's what I wanted. Not time of day. Okay. So in the colors area, we're going to go ahead and enable the mask. And then I'm going to trace this area here, and we'll play around with the color here. So let's hold the Alt key, and again, just kind of trace around this area where the water is supposed to be. And go from there. And then what we'll do is we'll start playing with this stuff. So I'm just going to lightly kind of color this area. You know, I don't want it to be too bright, but I want to give it the illusion of depth to kind of give it that, you know, that sort of that color you're wanting. Yeah, there we go. So there, it kind of gives it more of a water appearance, I guess. Then what we can do with it, if you really want to get fancy, is you can use the, some of the assets. If you have the Fantasy Grounds art subscription, you can add like waves and all kinds of cool stuff, like fish, all that kind of stuff. So, you can really get fancy with this stuff if you want. So you can use this blur thing here to kind of blend it in to the walls. So it's not there's not such a distinguishable line. Okay, so that would be probably about the extent of it. I don't think I'd use more than 2 effects layers for this because it does create a performance hit, especially if you got players with older computers and such. So you got to be careful on how much you do. So let's see. It depends on the network and all that other stuff. So then we got kind of the water sorted out. So now what I want to do is see what it looks like in the 3D token view. So I'm going to do zoom to fit and go into the play layer. And this is the player view, essentially what this will look like. So these dwarves have dark vision, they're able to see, and so does the monster. So they can see in the dark area. So now that that's going on, let's take a look at the camera mode. So we're going to toggle to the 3D camera. There we go. So I don't have any fancy top-down, 3D tokens for these guys, so I just kind of left it like that. But the main thing I wanted to see was the monster and see how that, yeah, that looks pretty good. He does look a little bit skewed, but that's fine. He's kind of got an upper torso strength kind of thing because he's half ogre. So that looks pretty gnarly. So I want to, so one of these guys next to him, yeah, that's about right. So this is kind of what you're looking for when you're playing. If you want to get that immersion going, if you want to use this for just kind of like more for show, or you don't want to use it for combat for tactical reasons. But I noticed that sometimes the layers don't show properly. Like I added these effects, they don't really work too well in this 3D mode yet. So I'm gonna have to come back here, but then see it kind of turned off. So I don't know why it kind of cancels it out. But if I come back to, let's go to the line of sight. Let's go back to water, go back to the effect. And I believe if I play with it here, it should come back. I don't know why it cancels it out. Sometimes it does. Here we go. It's something to do with the blur tool. So I don't know why it would do that. But and the same thing with this. So if I go back to the effect and play around with the brightness, actually the blur tool is what does it. Yeah, I think the blur tool is kind of a performance thing here. And then back up here to the brightness. There we go. So that kind of messes with it. I don't know why it does that, but it's something to do with the performance. See, now you can't really see it, but if you get in close enough and you kind of mess with it, it'll come back. So it kind of works. But there again, we'll see. But anyhow, so you would just test out a monster. So let's just say that he's across there and they're trying to escape this creature. So I'd probably have these individuals, go back to play mode here, probably have them up in here and then have her here. And then when it's their turn, they'd probably attack this thing. But I want to check the attack roll. So it gets 3 attacks. So it's going to do 2 claw attacks and then a bite. So this thing's pretty gnarly. So I want to take in, first I'm going to do a, I would have started with the terrifying roar, but in this case, I just want to do the attacks first. So his first attack, so he swings one of those gnarly flipper-like things, and Uncle Haglin headbutt. He kind of dodges or ducks underneath that. And then the next swing comes out wide, and we'll see what this does. So again, this is another attack. And it has a 10-foot range because he's a pretty big creature. So this time, you see lands the hit, and this isn't going to feel good. So You can drag and drop it on the map or on the combat tracker, however you want to do it. On the entry here. So, ouch. 13 points of damage. So he's got 60, but still, that was pretty gnarly. So now he has a bite attack. So he kind of like comes around. The first attack kind of flipped forward, like toward him, and then it missed because he ducked under it. But the second attack came around from the back and kind of scooped him in. So it kind of like hit him from behind and like made him stumble forward. And now he's going to do the bite attack. So his big mandibles come down and try to bite him. But Haglund's able to kind of turn his body so that this thing, when it tried to grapple him or whatever, or kind of almost like a bear hug, he kind of rolled around his rib cage there and got away. So that was cool. He kind of ducked underneath it as well. So he kind of rolled his body, and then he kind of went up underneath his arm. So he got pretty lucky. I think if he would have been a human or taller, it may have been harder to do. But he's fairly short, so he was able to step under his swings. So that's a pretty nasty thing. What it has, incapacitate. The frenzy lasts for 1 minute or until the Ogrelon is incapacitated. So this is a frenzy, a bonus action. It has advantage on all attack rolls and gains an additional plus 10 hit points at the start of each of its turns. So that's pretty gnarly. So I don't know. I don't think I'd want to go against that thing. Because just one of them's a menace. I mean, it's not fun. All right. So we know that works. So that's the first round. So I'll pass the turn to Haglund here. So Haglund gets to go. So whenever you first open up combat tracker entries or such, they usually pop up in the middle. So just get in the habit of moving them over. And then I'd put this on the actions tab. And he has a barbarian rage. So I'm going to have him do that. So I put the rage ability on him. You got to check one of them off. And I'm going to have him do a reckless attack, essentially. And he's going to use his great axe. And he's a battle rager, so he's got certain things that might help him. So we'll do his battle rager thing. So he kind of rushes in with his axe and starts hacking. Let's see what happens here. So advantage, and he still missed. Well, he come up running and just didn't do jack diddly. Let me see his abilities here. So he has this reckless attack, battle rager armor. So he has spiked armor. So while he's wearing it, you can use a bonus action to make one melee attack with your armor spikes against a target within 5 feet of you. If the attack hits, it deals 1d4. So yeah, I'm going to use that bonus action. And I'm going to take that battle rager armor thing and use that and make an action out of that. We'll see if it works. Yeah, there we go. So I just drag and dropped it in the powers. And then I can actually rename that if I go to... Sometimes it works if it's worded properly. So this first one is the damage for the bonus action. And I'm going to put a little B here for bonus so I remember that it's a bonus action. And then also go into the group, and we'll call this Battle Rager because we want to distinguish what this is. And there we go. So there's, whoops. There we go, Battle Rager. Now go back to action. So he's going to, when he missed, he kind of had the momentum brought him closer, and he's just going to roll around inside this guy's reach here and try to damage him. So first we'll do the cast part of it, and he missed. So the creature was able to kind of sidestep that bonus action. It kind of rolled as well, so it was rolling the opposite direction. So it missed. So that's Haglund's turn there. So let's see, whose turn is it now? So we'll say that was first round. Then we went to 1, 2. Okay, so Amanda goes. So Amanda's a cleric. She might have some ranged spells. This might be helpful. So we'll go to actions. And obviously she's been used before. I think this is Lady Shell's character, to be honest, if you guys remember her. Okay, so she'll use her crossbow for now, just to try to distract it, but I think she could use like the warding flare or something more devastating. Maybe bless might be helpful. Depends on how far away he is. So let me target him and see how far away Haglund is. Because if he's too far away, that's not going to help. Oops. You got to make sure you have the token selected. I don't know why it's pointing at this thing, because there we go. I didn't want to. So he's 45 feet away, so he's a little bit too far. So that's just, whatever. But she would probably use her crossbow in this case, so I'll just use that for now. But she has other spells here that would probably be like spiritual weapon, maybe. Things like that might be a little. Let's try guiding bolt, actually. So she's going to cast a spell. What's the range on that? 120 feet. Yeah, so you can do that. So she's going to do a guiding bolt. It's a desperation thing here. So we'll drag and drop it onto the Ogrelon. Hopefully he didn't save. Ah, it missed. So she lost one of her first level things here. And I think since she did miss, she'd probably just use a bonus action. But she can't because she already used a first level spell and not a cantrip. So I think she's kind of SOL there. So we'll pass her turn. Dorig is not really down for swimming. So what I'll have him do is probably do a crossbow attack, just like she would have. He doesn't have anything other than, he doesn't really have anything but the crossbow. So I'll just have him do that. So he does have defense. So put that on him. And I'll have to do a shield drop because he is armed with a shield. So when you have a two-handed weapon, you have to remove the bonus or unequip the shield. And then he does have Dwarven Resilience, so that's for poisons. So I'll go ahead and I don't need this two-handed entry anymore. That's the old way to do this. For battle axes and anything two-handed, you just switch the handedness. Right now he's using the battle axe one-handed, but we're going to use a crossbow. So in this case, I'll have him target the Ogrelon since there's no other targets around, and just double click. And did it even? Oh, he hit himself? How stupid. Let's see, did he target himself? Yeah, let me see. Nope, he didn't have anyone targeted, so let's try that again. So you can target from in the combat tracker, so you can take this and drop it there. Now let's do the attack roll. See, that was a 14. That might have hit, but let's see what happens. So go back to his sheet and double click here. I'll just drag this over. Actually, I want to see if it worked. It almost rolled a 20 and went to a 2. So he missed anyway. So, alright, so I'll fix that. So he just used 1. Anyway, so that's kind of how this would play out. And this guy here, I think he's stuck. I don't think he can do anything. I don't know even if he has a way to, if he has a crossbow or not. He has some light hammers that he can throw, and that's about it. So he's kind of SOL too there. Anyway, so that's kind of what I wanted to show you is the import and to check out your work. I think that looks pretty gnarly, pretty neat looking. So anyways, that's what I was working on today. It's the Battle Rager and then the music.